When you think of Rome, do you think of the Mouth of Truth and the Santa Maria in Cosmedin? Circus Maximus? The Victor Emmanuel II Monument? Or the Theater of Marcellus? And yet, while these sites are off the beaten path, they are still worth seeing. This is the Basilica of Santa Maria in Cosmedin. The Basilica is one of the best examples of medieval architecture in Rome. However, many visitors come here to see the famous Bocca della Verita, a large marble disc that was used in the Middle Ages as a lie detector and was placed here in 1632. Beginning in the Middle Ages, it was believed that if one told a lie with his hand in the mouth of the sculpture, it would be bitten off. The Bocca della Verita looks like a manhole and is thought to be part of an ancient Roman temple, and the face is believed to be that of the god Oceanus. Aside from the Bocca della Verita, the church is especially renowned for its beautiful cosmetesque artwork. The interior work was done by the Cosmedin, a Roman family of skillful architects, sculptors, and tile workers. The cosmetesque mosaic style was established in the 12th century, and much of the work was done by the family in the 12th and 13th centuries. It began with the work of Lorenzo Cosmedin and was developed by the next 4 generations of Cosmedin architects and sculptors. Of special note is the canopy, done in Gothic style with cosmetesque decoration. It dates to 1294 and is signed by Diodato di Cosma. This is reputed to be the skull of St. Valentine, the patron saint of love. The skull was discovered during an excavation of a catacomb that took place in Rome in the early 1800s. The history of the Church of Santa Maria in Cosmedin goes back to the 6th century, when a small church was built at the site of the administrative office of the grain market. In this area stood several temples. The small church was originally served by Greek and Byzantine monks. In the 8th century, the church was expanded by Pope Adrian I. Remains of a crumbling temple were incorporated into the new apse. The basilica now had 3 naves instead of a single one. The interior was so beautiful that the church was given the name Cosmedin, a word that was derived from the Greek word for jewel. This is the chapel of Our Lady of Loreto. They show the birth of Our Lady on the left and her death on the right. In a conch, she is shown holding the Christ child in front of the Holy House, where tradition says she was taken by angels from Nazareth to Loreto. We're now going down to the crypt, where I expect to see some bones. Pope Hadrian's crypt was built in the 8th century. The crypt itself is a miniature basilica with 6 columns. The niches on both sides probably held funeral urns. Santa Maria in Cosmedin. It's a crypt. I thought crypts supposed to have bones. Were they all here? Well, I want to see them. I guess not. Sorry, folks. I see no bones. This is Circus Maximus. Not Circus from Las Vegas. This is Circus Maximus. This is where they had the chariot races more than 2,000 years ago. And today it doesn't look like much, but you can kind of picture the horse-drawn chariots going all the way down there. Now, it has its origins going back to the 6th century BC, when the King of Rome created a track between the Palatine and the Aventine Hills. And the first permanent starting gates were around 329 BC. In 174 BC, the gates were rebuilt and 7 wooden eggs were placed on top of the spina, the central wall in the arena. The eggs were used to count the number of laps. After each lap, 1 egg was removed. In 33 BC, 7 bronze dolphins were added to the spina for the same purpose. A fire in 31 BC, the first of 3, destroyed the wooden structure. It was rebuilt by Emperor Augustus. A large obelisk from Heliopolis was added to the spina as a decoration. The obelisk can now be found at the center of the Piazza del Popolo. A second fire in 64 AD, which started in wooden shops at the bottom around the track, started the fire that burned much of Rome during the reign of Emperor Nero. After yet another fire, the circus was rebuilt by Trajan in 103 AD. At this point, the Circus Maximus was now a stone construction 3 stories high. The lower part of the cavea, or seating area, was built in marble. So back then they would have betting on the races. There were also gladiators fighting as well, but they would have betting on the races, and it became so intense that the different factions would actually fight against each other, sometimes resulting in death. So again, Circus Maximus. I think of Ben-Hur when I'm here. Officially known as the Monumento Nazionale of Vittorio Emanuele, the enormous white marble monument that dominates Piazza Venezia was built as a tribute to the first king of a united Italy, Victor Emmanuel II. As king of Sardinia and victor over the Austrian army in Lombardy, Victor Emmanuel had become a symbol of the Risorgimento, the movement for a united Italy. After his army joined forces with Garibaldi and defeated the Papal Army, the Kingdom of Italy was proclaimed in 1861 with Victor Emmanuel as king. In 1885, construction of the monument started, which was based on a design by Giuseppe Sacconi, winner of an architectural contest. The northern slope of the Capitoline Hill was cleared to make way for the monument, as Roman ruins and medieval churches were destroyed in the process. Sacconi never saw his monument completed. He died in 1905 and was succeeded by 3 architects. The new monument, a national symbol of Italy, was inaugurated in 1911 at the 50th anniversary of the kingdom. The monument to Victor Emmanuel II, also known as the Altare della Patria, or Altar of the Nation, is built with white marble. It is decorated with numerous allegorical statues, reliefs, and murals created by artists from all over the country. The upper section of the monument consists of a massive curved colonnade with 50-foot tall columns, framed on either side by small temple-like wings with a classical front. At the center of the monument is the large equestrian statue of Victor Emmanuel, the father of the nation. The statue rests on a pedestal decorated with allegorical reliefs representing Italian cities. Although you can't see it here, at the foot of the statue is a tomb of the unknown soldier, which was inaugurated in 1921. 2 bronze horse-drawn chariots crown the monument, each with a statue of a winged victory. The one on the right represents freedom, while the one on the left represents unity. They were added in 1927, 16 years after the monument was inaugurated. Inside the monument are large rooms. Half of those are used for exhibitions. The other half houses a museum dedicated to the history of the unification of Italy. Personally, I think this is a very majestic building, but the Victor Emmanuel Monument is not exactly known as one of Rome's most beautiful structures. It is considered too monumental by some, and the bright white color does not fit well into the color of its surroundings. The monument has been given nicknames such as typewriter and wedding cake. The Theater of Marcellus, with its seating capacity of approximately 15,000 spectators, was the largest and most important open-air theater in Rome. It was completed in the 1st century BC during the reign of Augustus, although the building project was begun by Julius Caesar. The architecture of the theater would become a standard feature of theaters across the empire and influence the facades of such iconic buildings as the Colosseum. In its heyday, the theater hosted such cultural events as plays, musical contests, and poetry recitals. However, with the increasing popularity of circuses and gladiator games held in the Circus Maximus and Colosseum, the theater fell into disuse. In 13 BC, the emperor dedicated the theater to his nephew Marcus Claudius Marcellus, who had been his heir prior to his early death in 23 BC. To make room for the theater, the ancient Flaminian Circus was demolished, and the Temple of Apollo was moved a few feet. Today, 3 columns, the podium, and front stairs of the temple can be seen next to the theater. The first events held at the theater were the secular games of 17 BC, but it was not officially inaugurated until about 5 years later. In the 4th century, material from the theater was used in other building projects. The monument, like many other buildings, suffered in later times, especially during the 11th and 12th centuries when it was converted into a fortress.